All right, so here we are with the applications part of this. So how many quarter acre lots can be made from 6.5 acres of land? So what do we think about? How's that going to work? So if we call that whole piece up here 6.5 acres, and we want to, we want to break this up into quarter acre lots. What are we going to do? We're going to divide the 6.5 by a quarter. Well, what is a quarter? Well, that's 1/4. And so that's how we're going to break it up. Now, what do we do here? Well, it's the same thing we've been doing. We have to convert this one to an improper fraction and then change to multiply by the reciprocal. So 2 times 6 is 12, plus 1 is 13/2. And again, I'm going to go ahead and say, well, multiply now by the reciprocal, which is 4/1. And so when we do that, well, 2 will go in here once, 2 will go in here twice. And look, we only have 1 in the denominator, 1 times 1. So if we take 13 times 2, that's 26 all over 1. So we have 26. And that's how many 26 quarter acre lots. Okay, that's how many quarter acre lots we can create if we split that 6.5 acres up. Now, how can we do the check? Well, we can take our 26 times 1/4. And when we do that, well, we can go ahead and reduce. And so that's going to be 2. That's going to be 13. And so we have 13/2. Well, guess what? We have to take 2 into 13 to get the improper fraction because we have to see if that's equal to 6.5. Well, 2 goes in here 6 times. That's 12. And 6 and 1/2. So, yep, that is true. So that does check out. And so there are going to be 26 quarter acre lots in that 6.5 acres of land. All right, so now we want to make some jewelry. So we have a bar of silver 4.5 inches long. So we have some bar of silver 4.5 inches long. And we want to cut it into 1/12 inch pieces. So we're going to cut it in all these pieces, 1/12 inches long. How many pieces are made? Well, in this case, what we're doing is we're taking that 4 and 1/2 and we're dividing it by 1/12. Okay, and so drawing your picture, reading what it says, you can come up with your equation or your expression you have to simplify fairly easily. Now we're back to what we had basically up here. And so we have to make improper fraction. So 2 times 4, that's 8, plus 1 is 9. So that's 9/2. Now what are we going to do here? Well, we're going to multiply now by the reciprocal, 12/1. And so we've kind of, converted this into 9/2 divided by 1/12. And now we've converted it to multiply by the reciprocal. And so when we do that, well, 2 will go in here once, 2 will go in here 6 times. Okay. Well, now we have 9 times 6, which is going to give us 54. 1 times 1 is 1. So 54 pieces can be made. Okay. So that is going to be our solution. Now, what do we do to check it? Well, we do kind of what we did up here. We took that 54 now. And if you think about it, it's 54/1 in case you need to have a fraction. And we take it times, what do we take it times? Well, we took it times 1/12. Now we have to reduce again. All right, so 2 will go into here 6 times. 2 will go in here 27 times. Well, guess what? Now we can go 3 goes in here twice. 3 goes in here 9 times. So we get 9/2 as our answer. And if we take 9 divided by 2, that's going to be 4. And then we're going to have 8, subtract 1, 1, 4 and 1/2. And does that equal the original number? Yes, it does. So our check does work out. All right, so what about this one? So here what we're going to do is it says we have a recipe that makes 6 muffins. And we need to write a recipe that makes 6 dozen muffins. Okay, so what do we need to do first? Well, first of all, we need to figure out what does 6 dozen muffins mean? Well, how many is in a dozen? Well, most of the time people say there's 12 in a dozen. So how many total muffins is that going to be? It's going to be 6 times 12. And if we take 6 times 12, that's going to give us 72 muffins. Okay, so that's how many muffins we want to make, but our recipe is only for 6. All right, so what did we have to do to get from 6 to 72? Well, we do the same thing we just did here. We multiplied by 12. So in our recipe, that means if we want to start with only making 6 muffins, this is what we need to have. But if we want to go to 72, we're going to have to take that times 12. So we're going to take 1 times 12, which is going to give us 12 cups of milk. Okay. And this one, we're going to take 1 2/3 times 12. And that's going to be what? Well, now we have to convert this to an improper fraction, remember? So 3 times 1 is 3, plus 2 is 5. So it's going to be 5/3 times 12 over 1. Now we're probably going to run out of space here, but we'll have to do some of these different ways. So that's a 1. 3 goes into 12 4 times. And then we just take 5 times 4. So that's going to be 20 cups of flour. Well, here we started with 2 eggs times 12. So that's going to be 24 eggs. So that was pretty easy. Now here half, that's a proper fraction. So we can take 1/2 times something. We can take 1/2 times 12. And 1/2 of 12 is just going to be 6. But if we need to see that, that's really over 1. So 2 goes in here once, goes in here 6 times. And so we get 6 teaspoons of salt. And then our final one here, 1½ teaspoons of baking powder. So we're going to take 1½ times 12. And so that's going to be 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 is 3/2, times, again, put it as a fraction. So now what do we get? Well, 2 goes in here once, 2 goes in here 6 times. So now we have 3 times 6, which is 18, and we have teaspoons of baking powder, okay? And again, so now our recipe should make 72 muffins because we had to take this times 12. And so each value here, we had to take times 12. So some of them, it was straight up 1 times 12, 2 times 12, and it was easy. Other times we had to take and do our mixed fraction into an improper fraction, or we took a proper fraction times a number, or another improper fraction converted to, or a mixed number into improper fraction, and then multiply, and we get our final value. Okay. And that's all I have for this section.